Hey everybody, how's it going? Welcome back to Cosmic Culture, the channel where we talk about all major movie and television news, theories, breakdowns, and more. I'm Chris, and today I've thought and put together a very interesting video which is connecting the Loki series, which is currently going on and blowing the minds of Marvel fans, to the highly anticipated Spider-Man No Way Home movie. In this video, we'll be connecting the dots between what we've already learned in Loki and what we know about the Spider-Man film. And between those dots, we should be able to find the connecting bridge that shows how Spider-Man No Way Home, based off of what we already think we know about it, is possible. Guys, new giveaway announcement. Be sure to subscribe to the channel. We're giving away an And a Seat chair exclusively on Cosmic Culture. There are two ways to enter. First, subscribe to the channel and comment on the videos. We'll be selecting a random video, or you can have a second entrance in the giveaway by following me on Twitter at TheCultureChris. I myself use the Spider-Man And a Seat, and it is absolutely marvelous. Pun 100% intended. So the MCU has, without an argument, become one of the biggest, if not the biggest, franchise for the cinematic events in the world. The fan base is incredible. The amount of money that these movies are making and pulling in, each, not even to mention collectively, again, is incredible. We're talking about merchandise, Disney parks, and other amusement parks that have Marvel-themed locations. This is the franchise to beat. And the reason for that, in my opinion, is the connectivity of it all. It's a little bit of a challenge when you watch the first Iron Man movie all the way through to now Disney Plus series that are weaving in and out of the main storyline, and begs you to ask the question, what is big picture Marvel news versus what is specifically created for this event? By event, I mean this particular movie or TV show. And quite frankly, it's a bit of a laborious task. They have us go and deep dive into these films, and they want us to, they invite us to. You look at Guardians of the Galaxy with James Gunn, where he's teasing Easter eggs that still haven't been found, and that there's one more Easter egg, and go ahead and find it, and it's going to have a huge connecting reveal for the future of the Guardians of the Galaxy, and presumably for the MCU. This is a game to them, it's a game to us. It is an incredible hide and seek of different clues, hidden foreshadowing, and very awesome incorporation of one film into another. And for the first 10 years, this was a really cool, sneaky way of connecting all of the films. But now, us as Marvel fans have gotten very astute, and it is starting to become not the downfall of Marvel, because that is a huge over-exaggeration, but a complication for Marvel. You see us in WandaVision trying to talk about Mephisto and what are the connecting points for the future. This is really the first Phase 4 project we're going to be getting. Let's find out what they're setting up and what the groundwork is for the next big bad in the MCU. So here's why it could be Mephisto, but also here's why it could be Nightmare. And that kind of spirals us out into this crazy what exactly is going on moment, and then you get to the end of WandaVision and it turns out the Darkhold was the big reveal and she's going to go and try to find her kids. If you think back to watching Iron Man, the first Thor, the first Captain America, there were no indicators in these films about Thanos coming, about the Infinity War. Heck, we watched Avengers. We didn't realize that Loki was actually carrying 2 Infinity Stones until way after. Between the Tesseract and his scepter, he had an immense amount of power, and it took a lot for the Avengers to defeat him with it. But in this first 10 years of Marvel, it was more looking back retrospectively going, wow, Loki had 2 Infinity Stones, and that connects to the future because rather than watching Iron Man and trying to figure out where Thanos was hiding in the cave while he was building his Iron Man suit. But that just is the natural order of it as fans become more excited, more wrapped up, and of course the storylines become crazier and crazier, which we've seen now with WandaVision and with Loki, where these storylines are entering this different type of realm that is most certainly leading to the future of the MCU. On that note, I do think there are a lot of things we can take away from shows like WandaVision, Loki, even Falcon and the Winter Soldier, Black Widow's coming out, all that will have connecting parts into the future, as we try to reverse digest the way Marvel wants us to understand these focal points. Because like I said with Loki, you're meant to see it going backwards. You realize after the fact that Loki has the Infinity Stones, and what we're doing now is speculating before we have knowledge about what these Infinity Stones are, is what the power of the Tesseract was and what Loki's scepter was capable of doing, what powered it. We're trying to guess what the Infinity Stones are without knowing. And I'll be honest with you, that is what I'm doing in this video with Loki to Spider-Man. I'm trying to put the pieces together before I have all the information. So this is a theory video, and 100% is possible that I'm off base and I'm incorrect. But based off of what we've gotten, the information we have up to this point and what's available, I think it makes a decent amount of sense. So let's talk about Loki. Loki, for me, in big picture Marvel news, can really only end one of two ways. And by big picture Marvel, I mean for the continuation of Phase 4, Phase 5, the big things that are going to affect the future of Marvel. Because every movie and every show does connect and does affect what's going on around it. As far as the Loki ideas go, what's going to happen to Loki, I honestly have no clue. It's really up in the air. The first 2 episodes were insane and definitely have me wondering where they're headed with this. But the big picture Marvel, I think this ends one of 2 ways. A, Loki ends up becoming a hero and saving the timeline, or somebody from the TVA manages to do it, the timekeepers manage to do it, that won't cross the red line, the Nexus events will all be canceled out, and things will go back to normal, and the multiverse will be disrupted in a different way for Doctor Strange. This is very possible that they're just explaining to us using Loki's series how all of the timelines work and how easily it could fall into a multiverse of madness. They explain the possibility based off of the past where it used to be in a crazy, chaotic sense, kind of showing us what a battle world scenario would look like, but after it's all done and been explained, they're going to return to normal, and Doctor Strange is going to happen in a different way. And then you have option 2, which is it doesn't get corrected, and this is how we get to Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness. We saw in the second episode that female Loki dropped the charges through these time holes all over the universe on the sacred timeline, disrupting and causing problems, potentially leading to Nexus events that the TVA won't be able to reverse. That being said, it's a lot harder to understand how exactly this is going to affect the regular timeline, movies like SpiderMan or movies like The Eternals, because we don't know how quickly it will take for the multiverse to actually spiral into badness. Let's say it takes an hour for the red line to get crossed for the TVA to not be able to return and fix these events, for them to become Nexus level events. That doesn't mean that immediately the sacred timeline is going to be shattered. It could take several years for this multiverse branch to catch up with our timeline and eventually cause problems. So it's 100% possible that the timeline could be actively being destroyed while Spider-Man happens, and no crazy multiverse stuff happens in Spider-Man because it's crumbling behind him in the past or in front of him in the future, and not exactly where Spider-Man is happening right now. So there's still time for that to collapse and for that to fall apart, but we can still have some moments in the timeline where things are acting normal or are only being affected slightly by the change of these broken timelines. Are you following me so far? If not, you can go ahead and comment down below saying, Chris, you're making no sense, and I'll try to explain it to you down there. However, the understanding is the timelines are all over the place. Time is infinite. It's all the way back to all the way forward, and Spider-Man is at a point on that line. So Spider-Man can happen where a charge wasn't set, and while the charge is collapsing the time behind him and in front of him, we are collecting this normal timeline still that might be affected in different ways through portals or entrances that are opened by the collapsing timeline. And that's where we get to No Way Home, just based off of the rumors that we have heard. We've heard a ton of rumors about how Spider-Man is going to feature characters from different Spider-Verse movies. Andrew Garfield and Tobey Maguire, to be specific. People are hoping to see these 3 Spider-Men share the screen, and the way that is going to happen is based off of what happens in Loki. If Loki ends, the series is over, and the timeline is still in complete disarray, it's falling apart, the Nexus events are happening all over the place, the TVA has been destroyed, and Loki is free to leave, well, there's your answer as to how Spider-Man 1 and Spider-Man 2 are going to go hang out with Spider-Man 3 on the sacred timeline. They're from different timelines that were created based off of these charges going off, which unwinds the work of the timekeepers and doesn't have one sacred timeline, but in fact allows other multiverses to be created. And since everything is crumbling, I suppose portals would be pretty easy to allow characters, including villains, to jump to the main timeline and try to figure out where they fit in this new universe. Now, for me, this is the quickest and easiest way to explain how we're getting a multiverse movie for Spider-Man, which, of course, again, I'll say isn't confirmed by Disney or Sony, but we're all very, very sure that's the direction that they're heading. And the way to get there is based off of the pieces that fall apart from the Loki series. Whether a timeline gets away or the TVA is in absolute pieces come the end of this series, we'll be able to see how these different characters from different multiverses, from different timelines, are able to find their way to Tom Holland's Peter Parker. And of course, the incorporation of Doctor Strange, which has also been confirmed by Kevin Feige in this next Spider-Man film, will have that connecting part to Multiverse of Madness, which is also going to be directly linked to Loki, because they literally talked about how the multiverse will fall into madness in the first episode if the timeline is disrupted at all. And that's his movie, The Multiverse of Madness. But this also connects to Wanda, who we know also from Kevin Feige is going to be heavily involved in Doctor Strange of the Multiverse of Madness as well. And I believe that this movie is going to be about fixing the problems that Loki created, and potentially Wanda as well, as she is wielding the Darkhold, and all of the events happening at the same time, the TVA falling apart, Loki causing problems, and Wanda playing with the Darkhold might put the multiverse at a very dangerous level that pretty much only the reality keeper, Doctor Strange himself, will be able to fix, and maybe in his movie he won't even be able to fix that, potentially leading down the road to a battle world scenario. But that's the connection, guys. It's a little messy because once you start dealing with time travel, the main timeline is no longer like in the past we were able to say, well, Iron Man was doing this on this date, so that means that Captain America was probably doing this during that same timeline. Well, we're not there anymore because Loki isn't in time. He's around time. He's watching time from where he is. And what he does affects all time, not just Peter Parker's time. But WandaVision and Loki are going to connect to each other eventually, just based off of what we've already learned in Loki with the timelines, the sacred timeline, the TVA, how it all connects, and the fact that they're not really in a good place right now as far as protecting the sacred timeline. So I'm pretty excited to see how all of that plays out. And right in the middle of Doctor Strange, Loki, and Wanda's love triangle is Spider-Man No Way Home, which for me makes me believe we're up for a very crazy movie. Let me know what you guys think about this in the comment section down below. What did you understand? How do you see it differently than me? And let me know what you think. But as always, thank you to everybody who watched to the very end of the video. Don't forget to enter the giveaway by subscribing and commenting on this channel, and a second entrance by following me at The Culture Chris on Twitter. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one right here on Cosmic Culture.